waited all winter for this.
It's the biggest race we have all year long.
The icons of this sport have all starred on its biggest stage.
It's the great American race. Trust me.
I won the Daytona 500. I won the Daytona 500.
Pull them belts tight one last time, boys. Light the fire.
Big push coming now for Harvick. Oh, and around goes a couple cars. Priest upside down. He's barrel rolling through the grass.
You got plenty of money. Don't need that to keep racing. Is it worth the risk to keep on going?
Sure, to win.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to the Bump and Run podcast. I'm your host, Mike Z.Y., joined by my two best friends, Matt the Statman Riley and Eric Boca Raton Dovin. He was down in Florida. That's why we're a day late. But he wasn't in Daytona. He was in Boca. But you know who won in South Carolina? Won Brad Keselowski. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys had yourselves a Brad Keselowski type of weekend. And make sure you like, share, subscribe. Tell all your friends about the podcast. But fellas, how was your weekend? Eric, how was your trip down to Florida? I see you survived. You were getting rowdy during the NASCAR races in the bars. Tell us all about it.
Oh yeah, went on a little extended weekend vacation to Boca Raton, Florida, for a nice little relaxing getaway, and we did that for the most part. Hit the beach hard first couple days there. The water absolutely beautiful. It was like that perfect, like where as soon as you go in, it cools you off, but it's warm enough where you just float around, don't even care. Water was crystal clear, so me, got a good buzz on going, started looking around at the beach for some shells, some mysterious things in the water. And I'm like, oh man, I'm like, that's a big conch shell down there. Like, look at the size of this shell. I go and pick it up. I'm like, Dana, look at this thing. All of a sudden, it still had it was a crab in it still.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh man, sorry, buddy. And cause I was going to take it home. I'm like, oh no, threw him back in the water, watched him, scurrying across the seabed floor there. So caught myself a live hermit crab in the ocean, which I've never done that before. So that was pretty cool. So relaxing ended. Then Sunday came, and it's Sunday. I don't care if I'm at Boca Raton, Florida at the beach or not. I Googled dive bars near me, and I found what I thought would have been the best choice. And
what was the name of it?
Uncle Kimmy's.
I was gonna say something like Stinky Pete's or something like that.
Oh, no, it was like a biker bar.
Yeah.
We went in there, sat right next to two bikers that were in there wearing patches, the whole thing, talking about. It was a Philly-owned bar, so the owners were from Philly. So it was that's what made me go there. And of course, everybody there became our best friend by the end of the day. We put in probably a good 10, 12-hour shifts sitting at the bar stool, which I don't know if they've ever seen out-of-towners do that before or not. But they got a show out of us all, and they saw how excited we were to be watching the race. And we had some people there, eyes glued to the TV during it. And the bartender at the end for the victory gave me the cowbell to ring. As Brad Keselowski was crossing the victory lane and getting the crowd fired up down there in Boca Raton. So it was a win-win for me. Got a nice relaxing vacation in. Also saw possibly the best race of the NASCAR season. How could I say that even after last week? So overall, man, I'm just happy to be here and excited to talk about this race.
I tell you what, too, the last two races, even the last three races with Dover and everything, we're on an upswing, especially since how down we were after the short tracks and changing expectations and stuff. But man, what a weekend of racing. But Matt, how was your weekend in general? What did you guys do? Any Mother's Day festivities with the wife and the moms?
It was not an Uncle Kimmy's dive bar type weekend, but you know what? I kind of wish it was. Typical weekend for us. Sunday we did the Mother's Day deal. So I think we say this every season right around this time. It's the calm before the summer storm, where we're outside and we're drinking a lot more because it's nice out. And so, I know Eric's got his Memorial Day Coke 600 party coming up, which can't wait for. And just super pumped about all things summer right now.
Yeah, I'm getting excited for summer too.
we're pretty much almost exactly 2 months away. No, it is. It's exactly 2 months away today from Pocono.
Yeah, and
which is our Super Bowl. I'm like, I can't wait for it. I know there's a lot to happen between now and then, but like, I don't want to rush time. But like,
yeah,
we're 2 months away, and we don't have our tickets.
None of us have tickets yet, so gonna have to jump on that.
Our fashion though.
Listen, summer is going to be busy too. I got so much stuff going on where, just on a side note, our buddy is getting married and it's his bachelor party, the 2 weekends after. And, we just started organizing the bachelor party now. We started talking about it in January and things just keep getting pushed. You don't realize how quick the year goes until it starts getting sunny and nice outside,
Got good news though, because women are not much further away from us. My wife this upcoming weekend is going on a bachelorette party, and up until like, I don't know, a week ago, they had nothing sorted out.
Yeah. All right.
So like, yeah.
Make
so
us
don't
feel a little better.
bad.
Or just our entire group of friends and spouses and everything. We're all the same. We're just terrible with time management. And that's kind of what I chalk it up to. But speaking of time management, we got a shit ton of stuff to talk about this episode. Tons and tons of news. So let's jump into it. Oh, my weekend was great too. Shout out to the moms. Took the moms out for dinner and had a phenomenal steak at Kevin's down in Kingston. Anyways,
I've heard good things about Kevin's. Haven't made it there, but I've been hearing good things.
It's a little pricey, but it's very good. Well worth it, and the drinks are great. But anyways, NASCAR news. Tons and tons of stuff to talk about. One of the worst kept secrets. Dale Jr. officially signed with Turner and Amazon to broadcast next year's races. So he'll be broadcasting 10 races. What's up, Eric?
I'm sorry. I just thought about, you were talking about steak at Kevin's, and I just thought about Uncle Kimmy's, the bar I was at. They didn't serve food. They had like their local patrons bring in food every day, like home cooked meals, and they put them on those burners in the side corner of the bar, and it's just kind of like a help yourself type of thing from the local patrons that bring the food in.
Was this like a VFW type bar? Because I've seen that at a VFW in the past.
No, it was just a little corner dive bar. But once you said a good steak, I'm like, at Kevin's, I just thought of it, like they didn't even serve food there. It was just all straight about just drinking.
So
sausage links.
Did you try any of the bikers smorgasbord down there?
You better bet I had a plate of that food. It was good.
Especially good. Oh yeah.
What were the beer prices like? Like $2 pints?
No, $3.50 for a bottle of beer.
Okay.
I mean, for down there, cheap.
In South
cheap,
Florida,
cheap.
That's about as cheap as you're gonna get it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say, they probably thought you were crazy for being there 10 hours and not a local. But if they knew you were from Pennsylvania and the owners were from Philadelphia, they would kind of understand.
Oh, they knew. Yeah.
So did you get patched in while you were down there?
Oh no. They hightailed it out of there. They knew I was from HA territory, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Sons of Dovin down there.
All right. What do you guys think about Dale Jr. heading to Turner and Amazon, though? I mean, pretty likely landing.
My first reaction a couple months ago when the rumors started and it was unofficially out there was like, that sucks. Cause like you listen to this podcast long enough and you know how big we are on the NBC crew. So I was bummed, but now that like things are starting to come together, I'm pretty excited. Like, seems like, especially with the bracket challenge I know we're going to get into, this could be a good segue into that news story, is they're going to have a nice little fun thing going on in the middle of the summer. And who better, associated with fun and NASCAR than Dale Jr., right? So I'm excited about it. We needed a shakeup. It's been Fox NBC for 20 years, 20 years now. And it's just like we needed a shakeup. I'm embracing this shakeup, and I think it's for the better.
Speaking of shakeup, before we get to that middle season tournament, but I do want to talk about that. Fox canceled Race Hub. Their last show will be June 11th, something none of us really saw happening. But when you kind of think about it, Fox lost a lot of things in this television rights deal. They lost the Xfinity series to the CW. That's going away completely. They lost, 6 races or so? from their schedule to give.
It's all good for us, though. That's my feeling on it all. It's like, hey, if you're not going to put the quality and the effort and the resources into making our product one of your priorities, then I don't want you to have any kind of rights or TV deals. It's good that they're kind of pulling back on it, because I think NASCAR is kind of seeing all the fans and the responses, and even some of the drivers bust the balls too. Even they know, even the booth, Junior has said it before about what he would like to see in the radio broadcast. And I think NASCAR is listening. And I think when they were negotiating these deals, I think they might have looked in that direction. Like, hey, Fox, you don't care about this anymore. And you're making us look bad when we need the momentum. We have the momentum. You're slowing us down and you're holding us back.
Can I tell you, even some of the style choices during the broadcast killed me. I was watching the highlights right before the show, just because I was doing the last place, and spoiler, Ryan Blaney got in last place. I couldn't remember exactly what happened in that wreck, and I'll tell you why I couldn't remember, because as they were all coming together and Blaney was hitting the wall, they cut to Tyler Reddick's in car, but it's not his car facing the track, it's his helmet. And I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck is Fox doing as their broadcasters are talking about a 3-wide William Byron deal? They cut away from it to show Tyler Reddick's helmet. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
They did that a couple times. Yeah. They did that a couple times on Sunday, where you could tell it throws the broadcast off because the camera doesn't go to what they're talking about. Yeah. And then then Harvick or Kuhn's like,
they're shocked. Yeah.
They literally step on their words, and it's like, go to this, and you could hear them physically get thrown off by it.
I was going to bring that up. I didn't know if anyone else caught that. I forget the instance, what was happening in the race, but Boyer and Harvick were talking about watch whatever it was out the windshield or whatever of this car, and watch what happens, and watch where he's braking and where, and then it flips to a whole different.
It cut to Corey LaJoie too, and I'm like, what is going on?
In the middle of Boyer and Harvick breaking something down, but you needed the specific camera angle that they were currently on in order for everything to make sense, and they cut away from it mid conversation, and then they were both just okay, and then they just and here we have Corey LaJoie or whatever. It was just. What are you doing?
Just really odd choices. There was one I had to bring up our Twitter because I tweeted about it as soon as it happened, where it was coming to the end of the stage. I think it was stage 2. And Boyer goes, "Did he get him, Kevin?" And we don't know, because they only ever show the first car cross the line. And then they cut to reactions and shit. I don't even know what they were referring to. I don't think they know what they're referring to half the time. Because, the cameras just keep cutting it, and he keeps stumbling over.
They don't even give us, much pre-race stuff or post-race stuff the way it is.
Yeah.
And now you're going to take away a show that's dedicated to news and to what's going on to keep the fans updated. And, to me, that was the NASCAR Sirius XM for TV of if you want to go through when you're driving, get little snippets, there's certain shows that you listen to on Sirius XM to get that information. Now, if you don't have that, then there's always Race Hub. You could record that or go back. They're always giving you what's going on, the latest in news. And I feel like we just lost our main news source there with the hub. And man, it's a shame. And they were all thrown off too, though. Did you notice that?
Yeah, they were.
They were kind of everybody was kind of thrown off by it. So I don't know what went on behind the scenes with all of this to have them cancel it or whatnot, but it sent a ripple through the whole entire sport.
DBC, one of the benefits of doing this show on a Tuesday instead of our regular Monday is it gives me an opportunity to listen to DBC.
Yeah.
And just because if for any of the people who don't listen to Door Bumper Clear, they're 3 spotters, and they obviously are industry insiders, and they share a lot of rumors and tidbits and information. And I know we're actually going to get into some of that later on in the news here. One of the things they said, and kind of in passing, was that while talking about this very thing about Race Hub getting shut down, was Ben Kennedy had mentioned, I think it was Ben Kennedy, they said had mentioned something about them looking into doing a studio show with CW or something like that. So they're gonna try something, or I don't know if it's gonna be on a streaming service or what, but they're looking into doing something. So
in all reality, in all reality, this is a good thing for us. Like they're just literally just saying, Fox, screw you. We're going to try this. What you're currently doing, we're taking that somewhere else to see if it improves because you haven't improved. We told you about it. It still hasn't improved. You're still using cartoon graphics when everyone is so mad about that. You're still doing it, And so in all reality, if they do that somewhere else, which I think they should, that'll be good. I think they have to. Like the fans and people need it.
Yeah, I was going to say, even before you brought that up, I'm glad you did bring that up because I was just going to speculate on it where I was going to say, hopefully NASCAR with their production team, they have a studio and everything. Hopefully they do like a YouTube thing or a streaming thing or like you said on the CW, which would be perfect programming. Because like Eric said, like it is important for the fans to stay informed and stuff, like we do this show to help inform people of what we don't like, what we've learned, but not everyone's listening to all of the podcasts. Not everyone's listening to DBC. It was easy to tune in at 6:00 on FS1 every day and get NASCAR news from Larry Mack and people you could trust, So hopefully they do. And it does seem like all of the people are blindsided by it. It was a quick Fox decision. So unfortunate for them. And then to what Matt was talking about before with the mid-season tournament, NASCAR will be having a mid-season tournament, which is basically Denny Hamlin's bracket challenge idea from last season, which he is doing again this season on his podcast. Next season during the TNT and Amazon stretch of races, so it'll be like a 10-race bracket style elimination where they'll see the drivers by the last couple races or whatever. And then the winner at the end, the driver gets $1 million. So some extra incentive for the drivers to drive pretty hard.
So essentially what it is it's, if you've ever filled out a March Madness basketball bracket, that's what it is where, like Whitey said, they're going to take the last couple races before this tournament starts and take like whatever a power rankings or whatever. I think it's 1 through 32. And, it'll be like Hamlin versus LaJoy, and I'm just pulling out names, Larson versus Gilliland or whoever, all the way down. And then each race, you have a normal race going on, but each race, whoever outperforms the driver that they're facing, that driver moves on. So let's just say, it is Denny Hamlin versus LaJoy and Denny Hamlin DNFs. Guess what? He doesn't move on. LaJoy does.
And
then the winner of that after 10 races, 5 races.
Is it 5? Okay.
5 races. There's going to be it's going to get whittled down to 2 drivers, and the winner gets $1 million. So I mean, I know they used to do back when Winston was the series sponsor. They did the Winston Million. So this is $1 million, but now there's an actual in-season tournament, and so it gives that summer, the middle portion after the Coke 600 and before the playoffs, gives you something fun to look at other than just the racing and not just the playoff battles, but this type of battle as well.
It's kind of like the dash for cash in the Xfinity series too, for that extra $100,000 when certain drivers are eligible for that.
Yeah.
It's another thing. Like I never know what's going on, but I hear the broadcast talk about it. Say, oh, these drivers are in for the dash for cash. They put them 4 in the yellow on the scoring monitor on the side of the screen too. And, it gives the broadcast, it gives that more substance too, instead of
just a little extra storyline.
And if someone, even for the mundane person that just maybe has the race on, I'll pick one of those 4. I'll go for that battle within the race battle. So to me, it's kind of like that dash for cash in Xfinity. And hey, no harm in it. You know what I mean?
Might as well, yeah.
Just add another fun little segment to those 5 races.
Nothing changes. It's not like, like you still get normal points and all that for like towards
you're adding entertainment. How would you hate that?
And that's the thing too, like you said, Matt, like we used to have the Winston Million and there was like the Noble 5 or whatever, right?
The best.
Throughout,
Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like throughout the years, there's always been like fun little extra things to watch. I'm glad they're trying to bring those back.
The best thing about this too is if you get someone old school or otherwise who's like, this is stupid, it's a gimmick. The best thing about it is if you don't like it, the race is unfolding anyway. You don't even have to pay attention to it. The broadcast will be talking about it, but like you don't have to pay attention to that if you don't want to. You could just take the race in as normal. It's just this little side thing that's going on during the normal race anyway.
It's funny. I saw Ray Scrub commented on last week's, and he kind of suggested something similar to this, different though, where he wants to go back to the Winston Point style and then add a playoff format on top of it to create some of that extra drama where like it's an added incentive. And it's kind of like what they're doing here for the middle of the season, that summertime lull to where people are kind of out and about. Maybe they're not paying attention to the race. Well, maybe they want to gamble on this too. There's tons and tons of gambling opportunities that'll get, people tune in. So I think it's great all around. And then let's see, a whole bunch of stories, but this one's really important. Red Lobster announced this morning that it's going to abruptly close dozens of stores.
Dude, the endless shrimp got him. When I saw that headline, like everybody thought it was an Onion article. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, the endless shrimp finally got Red Lobster. They're closing for good. And everyone's like, this is the most bullshit headline I've ever seen. Like, who's going to believe that? And then you see it like, oh man, the endless shrimp really got him.
The endless shrimp has gotten me a couple times too.
I haven't been so shocked by news since last Wednesday when Michael McDowell announced that he was moving to Spire next season. There's also rumblings that SHR and Front Row Motorsports are basically going to merge together and sell off some charters too. So what do you guys think about fucking Michael McDowell heading over to Spire next season?
Well, this is funny because my checkers and wreckers later on kind of has to deal with this, where I kind of went and I paired mine together. Okay. As kind of like a mid-season to deal with when you switch and teams and what we thought back then about it. And, this to me, we talk about Junior was so pumped about, Spire. Said they were going to get a win and really talking it up and everything. So, McDowell, we thought he just said, oh, front row, like I'm never going anywhere. So I don't know, that Spire with McDowell, they need someone in there that can perform in this next gen car. So I don't know. I mean, if to me, this seems like they dropped a Brinks truck off in front of McDowell and said, hey, like you're coming no matter what. You do not have a decision. So, bingo. This bag right here has your decision made.
It was a payday, and it was also, and McDowell mentioned this in his press release or his press conference or whatever, that it's a multi-year deal, which was important to him because he's been strung up on single-year deals with I almost called it Furniture Row.
Front Row Motorsports.
Yeah. I'm going to reserve judgment on all this because from all the rumors that are swirling right now about what could and can't happen, like with a couple different cup teams, this might be the silly season we've ever seen because there's a lot of things that could be happening within the next couple months. They're really going to shake some shit up. There's going to be. So, I mean, Whitey, we could jump into it, I guess, if you want to, about the Stewart-Haas news.
Yeah. So, like you said earlier, because we're doing it on a Tuesday, I got to listen to tons and tons of podcasts today. I listened to Dale Jr. Download. I listened to the Teardown and Actions Detrimental, and I was reading between the lines with some of them. But first, I gotta mention, I don't know what we're gonna do without Cheddar Bay biscuits. The reason
moment of silence.
Moment of silence.
Okay.
But no, I want to let everyone in on the joke. The reason why we brought it up was Matt just brought it up in our group text message about putting the Red Lobster news.
Red Lobster is closing? What the fuck is that all about?
And so I decided to throw in the news. But the Michael McDowell stuff, super shocking. I thought, like you guys, we were talked about earlier in the week, they must have dropped a bag on him. And then I was listening to Dale Jr. Download today, and Jr. was definitely giving way too many hints where he even stopped himself. He goes, I'm going to get myself in trouble if I keep saying things. But between reading through the lines, like Matt said, McDowell's been on a year-to-year contract. And he's been happy. That's the thing. He's always said, like, he's been happy. And apparently he's had a lot of control with the race team itself. That came from Jeff Gluck and the Teardown, I believe. Where they talked about how like he had a lot of control over that team and everything. It seems though he might be losing some of that control, and that might be why he's pushing out. And it kind of has to do with this Furniture Row SHR merger that's in the talks. If it does happen, I think there's a couple current SHR drivers that are kind of guaranteed rides or need rides. and McDowell might not have been as secure this season as he has been in the past. Also, I didn't realize this. Michael McDowell's 40 years old, so he is getting up there. And I don't know if you guys know this either. He has 5 children. So I'm assuming with 5 kids, you have to make sure you got all your ducks in a row. So now it's kind of starting to make sense why he would jump to Spire. He might have a little bit of that extra control over there because they are a smaller team. And you have to think too, Front Row Motorsports, Michael McDowell really did a lot to help build this team up over the last couple of years. And
without him, they're nothing.
For real.
Nothing.
And so I think this is a good move for Spire too, to get a guy like that in your stable also, especially when you thought you could build with Corey LaJoie and he hasn't really done anything. Now he has a rookie kind of outrunning him. Maybe you want to get Michael McDowell in your equipment and see where it really lies. You know, what do you guys think about all that stuff? And then, Matt, the rumor, right? Is that where you were headed?
Yeah, but I don't even know. I think I mentioned it to you guys today in a Snapchat, but I wasn't sure if you guys were aware of it too. Like, I know what you have written down for the news, so say what you have about the merger. Is that what we're kind of talking about?
Yeah, and then according to Freddie Kraft on DBC, he says Harrison Burton's out on the 21 car at the Wood Brothers right after this season. And depending on the merger, Chase Briscoe is the front runner to jump over there.
Yes, but what according to Freddie Kraft is that it's not a merger, that it's not 1 or 2 or 3 cars that might be closing up shop at Stewart-Haas. It's Matt, I know Haas might be closing up shop in general, like might be selling the charters and out of NASCAR.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, to me, I mean, he sounded, the way Freddie was talking about it, he sounded pretty convinced that that's what's going to happen. So, I mean, we don't know, obviously. We could just report what we hear from all these podcasts. But, like, if that's the case, man, you've got Chase Briscoe, who, by what the sounds of it, sounds like he's going to be going to the 21 car with the Woods brothers.
Yeah.
So that's one person spoken for. You got Josh Berry, who you're going to have a line out the door for him. So you would think you've got Noah Gregson, which also, according to Door Bumper Clear, is there already is a line out the door for Noah Gregson. And then Ryan Preece, who knows? Obviously, I think he's the 4th car in that stable. Probably going to go back down to Cups or Xfinity, but there's a lot of talented drivers out there and not a lot of seats currently. And that's why I think that we're going to get the craziest silly season that we've had, because, like, dude, there's a lot of talent out there that needs to be scooped up some way, somehow. There's also, there's underperforming. Sorry, Justin Pierce. There's underperforming Alex Bowman at Hendrick Motorsports. There's underperforming Joey Logano right now. What happens to all these people?
Austin
I know we have
Cindric,
contracts, but we've seen in the past contracts sometimes don't necessarily mean everything that you think they do when there's younger, hotter talent out there.
And
cheaper talent too, which is the most important part.
And you have to keep in mind too, all of this is happening with the uncertainty of the charter in general, So, like, who's going to be buying a charter if this is possibly the last year that they're even a thing, I mean, it seems like NASCAR is trying to keep them around and get some sort of agreement done. But at the end of the day, NASCAR could say, well, fuck your charter. It's worthless and everyone's an open team now, So, like, this is.
So now, do you think that in a way is some of these teams maybe lining up themselves with a driver that each and every week could race their way in with no matter what? Like, to me, you put Briscoe in that 21, he's probably going to qualify and get that car into the show over Harrison Burton. You know what I mean? Like, if every car does have to become an open team and get it on speed, you want to have the best option in your car at that point, So, it, like Matt said, this could possibly be the silliest season ever, because normally when you are in a contract or you're in one of these big teams, you're kind of golden. There's no rumor unless you kind of get old where the veterans retire and then someone gets in, or
there's like a hot shot coming up,
Yeah, or the normal carousel of some of these smaller teams that normally happen throughout the Spires, the JTG Darting,
just
they're where they kind of just going back and forth,
shuffle everyone around.
Yeah, like the Kaz Grallas of the world going to this guy over to here, and the bottom half usually shuffles, but the top half usually doesn't. This time around, everybody is kind of fair game right now. I feel like everybody's contract doesn't mean anything because of the charter deal. So until that gets sorted out, if I'm anybody, to be honest with you, like, what if these drivers have an input where they say, hey, I don't want to do this or I don't want to do that if I don't have this guaranteed? I don't know. I think this is going to be, like you said, this is all speculation right now, which we could create any kind of situation that we would love in our heads.
I've got one in my head. I've got one in my head where you heard the bottom of my desk. It went. Austin Dillon obviously has been like the most underperformer of the past decade of NASCAR. He has his whole PBR Pro Bull riding thing off to the side. What if he reads the tea leaves or old Grandpa walks up to him and says, Austin, we got to get you out of there. And then Josh Berry, who becomes a free agent because SHR folded, Josh Berry drives that 3-car, baby. Oh my God. I'd be in heaven.
I mean,
this is why people love silly season, and it's just getting
anything
underway.
can happen. Yeah. Whatchamacallit? I didn't get a chance to listen to DBC though. Did they hint where like Noah Gragson might be going? If
they just said that there are a lot of teams that are very interested in Noah Gragson right now.
I mean, I would be considering his performance this year. Like, where does this come from?
He's funny. Like he's obviously got the talent. Yeah.
So it should be interesting. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. We'll keep an eye on it. Whatchamacallit, last year, if you remember, there was a leaker named Private Porno 69 on Twitter, and it was a woman, which I think is extra funny. She tweeted the other day just the Undertaker dung, as if I don't know if she's coming back to life with some silly season rumors coming up, but I'll be keeping watch on that on Twitter, and we'll keep you updated throughout the summer as we can. Let's see a couple more pieces though. Oh man, I got a little.
We've got so much news.
Yeah, I got all sorts of turned around. Let's see. Jimmy Johnson, we were talking about broadcasting before. He's joining the NBC Sports team for the Indianapolis 500 coverage, and he'll also join for 3 Cup races. And then he's also running the Coke 600 that day. So in a way, Jimmy Johnson is also running the double with Kyle Larson, except in the broadcast booth. What do you guys think about Jimmy Jam doing a little broadcasting? I'm assuming
he did that last year, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he?
I don't know if he did the 500.
He raced in the 500.
Yeah, he raced in the 500 last year.
But he was in the broadcast booth for something.
I know.
Maybe it was just one of those things where they were bringing in people to do little segments of the All-Star race. I thought Jimmy did some kind of race in the booth.
I don't remember. I know Dale Jr. did the 500 the last couple years.
I'm thinking of then.
So
yeah.
I'm wondering if he'll be in that type of role where it's like him and Rutledge Wood out in the. Actually, that's probably exactly what it's going to be.
That's definitely what I'm thinking of. I think it was Junior who I'm thinking of was over there in Indy.
And then he's running the Coke 600. So we'll see how Jimmy does in the Coke 600. And then whatchamacallit, let's see. One last piece. Corey Haim is driving for 2311 at Nashville in that 50 car. And then Jordan Bianchi, speaking of silly season, we got some early schedule news from him, at least speculation. So Dale Jr. mentioned it a couple of weeks ago on his podcast that Richmond's probably going down to 1 race. That's going to be replaced by Mexico City next year, which I don't mind. They raced back there in the Busch Series back in the day. I'm looking forward to seeing an international race at Richmond's expense. I don't mind that.
Is that a road course, I'm assuming?
I believe so. Yeah. I'm guessing. I didn't look up the track, to be honest with you. And then
I don't mind the location. Adding a piece of the puzzle, another track that we're all bitching about is not something that I think is a good.
That's why I gave the thumbs down.
Because it's a road course.
It's the idea that it's a road course. Yeah.
No, I agree, man. Especially we talked about the last couple weeks. You know, we added all these road courses because the road course racing was good, and now this car's not good at road course racing, and we're stuck with all these road courses. When
or it could be a street course, just like Chicago.
I'm not. I don't think it's a street course.
Dude,
I think it's
it's at a road course. Is it at a place where they used to go? Are we going back to that location?
Yeah, it was wherever we used to go in the Busch series, but I wasn't a fan back then, so I don't even know.
Yeah.
I didn't look up the track, so that was on me.
Here it is. Here.
Yeah, that's just a little disappointing, knowing road courses aren't the greatest, but I don't know. Exposure is good.
I mean,
long straightaways, kind of like the Glen.
Yeah, it looks like Watkins Glen mixed with Coda, with some of those sharper technical turns.
Yeah, that's probably a good call.
Yeah. So I mean, it might be interesting, it might be pretty good. And then let's see, Easter weekend, we're taking it off. And that's probably gonna be the only off weekend of the season though. So that's gonna be a rough grind. And then let's see, the Clash is rumored to go to Bowman Gray Stadium, which everyone was talking about today, how cold it's going to be if it's preseason, like 40 degrees in North Carolina.
Also stupid.
Yeah.
Put the Clash back in Daytona, make it speed weeks. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? What are we overthinking shit for?
Yeah, I don't understand why going to Bowman Gray at all. Like, it seems like it just seems like a disaster waiting to happen, to be honest with you.
Build up of speed weeks at Daytona. It's Daytona's thing. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah, go back to qualifiers.
Bowman Gray is like a high school / like D3 football field. It's like it can only hold like I think 15 or 17,000 or something like that. Like what do we do? There's not going to be enough capacity to hold a NASCAR Cup Series event.
Yeah, I don't get it either. Honestly, I think it's dumb. I don't even like the idea of going to Bowman Gray because of just the shit show like reputation the reputation has. Yeah, it like Bowman Gray Stadium's a joke for racing. It's entertaining to see clips from when people have freakouts and wreck each other and drive through the grass and stuff. I don't want to see that in the top series of NASCAR though, Right. So to me it's stupid. Eric, you on the same page? You have any?
Yeah, I'm on the same page with that for sure.
And then something I know we all hate, and the Teardown guys were really ripping it apart. Phoenix is going to host the finale yet again. And I
have half a mind of closing my laptop right now and walking away.
So
that makes me so fucking mad. It's not even.
The Teardown guys, and I believe Dale Jr. kind of alluded to that. Like they're just we're getting paid. NASCAR's getting paid to go there by the city or something. That's why they keep doing it.
You're not getting a good product. Like I don't want to rehash it.
And
I'm in a good mood. We've got great racing. I don't want to talk about fucking Phoenix.
All right, that's all I got for NASCAR news. So let's move on to the race weekend, boys. We are 40 minutes in, and we didn't even get to the race weekend. That's how much news we had, but it was important news to talk about. But we had a triple header: Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. Ross Chastain winning on Friday night. Matt, do you want to tell everyone what you did on Friday night watching the truck race? Do you remember what you did because of the rain delay? You tuned into the truck race thinking
yeah. So yeah. No, that was Saturday night, wasn't it?
It was Friday night. Trucks were on Friday, yeah.
Was it Friday night? So yeah, I it's the truck series, right? And I'm busy, we're taking care of the baby, putting him down, doing all that. I wasn't on Twitter, so I had no idea that there was even a chance of rain or whatever. So I'm finally like, the race is about to start. It's about that time. Crack open my first beer. I'm like, we're going trucking. It's the Craftsman Truck Series. I'm going to catch a little buzz and watch them truck each other up, right? And so I turn it on, crack open the beer, and I'm watching, and I got 23 laps in. Leading up to it, though, I was telling my wife, like, Kyle Busch is definitely supposed to run this race, and I don't see him on there. But he was like, because they were making a big deal. It's his last truck race of the season.
Yeah.
But he's not on there. Like, did I miss something? Did he not qualify? Like what happened? And then I was like, oh, Willie B is, I didn't know Willie B was, I was like, wait, some of these drivers, like what's going on? And then finally up in the right-hand corner, weather delay, 23 laps into the race. I made it like a half a beer in before I realized that I wasn't watching a live race. I couldn't. I make fun of people who do that.
So Matt
I send the snap out. So I send the snap out, making fun of myself to these guys, and I'm like, hey, I can't believe I just did this. Unbelievable, whatever. And like, not 2 minutes later, here comes a snap from Eric's girlfriend Dana. Go ahead.
What did Dana do?
I fell for the same exact thing Matt did.
I didn't know that.
The race came on at exactly the time it was supposed to start, 7:30 on the dot. I'm cracking. I had already been drinking. I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
I knew it was under rain. I came back from being in the pool of the beach. I'm like, we're gonna catch the start of the race. Let's go. Put it on. I'm sitting there drinking. I'm like, what got me was I see the 25 truck. It said Matt Benedetto, and I'm going, what? I thought he got thrown out of the 25 truck. And then I'm watching. I'm going, something's not right here. So then I'm like, I was still watching. I'm like, is it just me? I thought I just had such a drunk buzz on. I'm like, maybe I got confused. I forgot. So, Matt, you actually saved me because I would have kept watching if you never sent that snap. But honest to God, Matt, I got just like you did in the same exact way.
I'm like, this is phenomenal racing. Like, I can't wait for the weekend. Like, the trucks are already putting a show on. We're 20 laps in, and I'm like, but same thing? What's wrong? And then there it is, weather delay up under the Fox symbol in the upper right hand corner.
I've gotten caught like that before, but not with a race. I was watching YouTube the one time. You know how it says live, like it's the boxes in like red.
Yeah.
I'm thinking this is a live, like it was a rocket launch, from Cape Canaveral. I'm like, let's go, SpaceX rocket launch. I'm like, me and Luke, right? But when I was living with Luke, we were pumped, like, let's go, right? We're getting all pumped up, ready for the rocket launch. They're talking about it. We watched this for 20-some minutes, right? And then Luke looks at me. It's 11 o'clock, like our time here at night. And this is in Florida. It's broad daylight out. And Luke goes, dude, I don't think this is really live. And I'm going, dude, it says live. Look at the red box around the thing. It's live. And man, so we got with the rocket launch before too. So very gullible, I guess, when we have a slight buzz on.
That couldn't have been a slight buzz. That one couldn't have been a slight buzz.
Yeah, what you call it? That happened to me once with a Facebook Live video where it was a guy climbing a tower to replace something at the top of the tower.
I watched that video.
Right?
It took me about 10 minutes.
I'm watching this thing for 20 fucking minutes, waiting for him to get to the top of this tower as he's climbing it. It never comes. It never. It was like a video of like, this is what you call a treacherous job, and it's a guy replacing a light at the top of a tower or whatever. Yeah,
he's just climbing, and every once in a while he'll look down. And you see that he's what 1,000 feet off the ground or whatever it is, and he's climbing. It's like a GoPro on this guy, and he's climbing. And it's like, wait until he gets to the top and see what happens. Same thing. I made it like 15 or 20 minutes into this video before I realized like every like 6 or 7 minutes it was on a loop. But just the way they
it's a clean cut, right? Yeah.
I did the same thing. Got caught with that too.
So yeah, it happens, boys. It happens. I was dying laughing because I was out to dinner and I came home and I checked the app. I go, oh shit, the truck race didn't even start yet. Rain delay, perfect. And then I opened your snap up, so it was just so much funnier. But Ross Chastain ended up stealing the win on that one because it was Friday and it was late. I don't remember exactly what happened, but didn't. Raja Karuth and someone else got it. Christian Eckes maybe got into a wreck. I know me and Eric were fired up after it happened.
I didn't know until right this second that Ross Chastain won the truck race because
he stole it
at like 2 a.m. I didn't see a second of it.
Yeah, he stole it. There was a late race. I mean, Raja Karuth, he had a truck for it. And I knew he was gonna steal that race at the end too. I just knew it.
Because it was like right before the stage end or something, Raja Karuth made up like 6 positions in like 5 laps, something amazing, and ended the stage in like 2nd or 3rd. And then on that restart, it was a big wreck, like a big one happened, and cleared half the field. And Ross Chastain was running like 10th half the time. He ended up stealing it. And then in the Xfinity race, I didn't catch the Xfinity race on Saturday. Justin Allgaier, though, finally got the win. I know you guys were real nervous at the end there because, of course, Lil Gator always has something come up and snap him in the ass and wreck. So he got the win. Did you guys saw it? What did you guys think of the Xfinity Series race? Was it a good one?
Yeah, I thought it was a great race. Once again, Xfinity Series putting on another fantastic entertaining race, and yeah, I was happy to finally see Justin get that that black cloud lifted from the what man. It seemed every week he had the fastest car leading up front at the end, some restart, either as a tire go down, bad pit stop, something. Almost Martin Truex Jr. in like 17, 18 or whatever that was when he dominated, but just something happened to him every single week where he just came up short at the end of a race. That kind of how Allgaier's season was going, but good to see him shake that off and get his win. I
feel like that it's Martin Truex Jr. This year a little bit too. He's been real close a lot and just had the shit end. And then Cup race, man, Brad Keselowski finally getting it done. He led 5 times for 37 laps. The race lasted 3 hours, 12 minutes, and 30 seconds, and we saw 6 cautions for 38 laps, 16 lead changes among 10 different drivers. And fellas, let's jump into the race grades.
It's our NASCAR weekend race grade.
All right, just want to jump back to that truck race. I remembered what the great battle was. It was Corey Haim. He led so many fucking laps in that 11 car, and Raja Karuth was the only one gaining on him. And then, of course, that big one happened. But me and Eric were talking in the off break. That's just the breaks of racing, I guess. And I just gave away that we took a break, but whatever. The Cup race, Brad Keselowski getting it done. Fellas, I know what I thought of the race. I want to know what you guys thought of the race. Let's start with Matt for the race grades. What do you think?
That's an A+ for me, buddy. That's the first back-to-back A+ I've given in a long, long time. I loved it. I loved it. So we always talk about, it's about how you consume the race. It's about, your surroundings and, are you able to pay attention? Do you have any distractions during a race? All this could go into the way you either like or don't like a race. I only got 67 laps into the race before I had to get step away for a couple hours for Mother's Day dinner.
Yeah.
So paused it, started recording it, left, went out to dinner, did that, shut the phone off, did all that. So there was no spoilers. Even walked into the place we walked into. There's a bar and a TV off to the side. I walked in with my back to it, like an asshole. It just, So,
did they have NASCAR on during Mother's Day?
I asked Steph when we walked by. I was like, "Was the race on?" She said no, it wasn't on.
Okay, yeah.
So, it wasn't on anyway. But anyway, so did all that successfully. Got back, and I was. Like the first 67 laps, from everything I saw in those first 67 laps, I could not wait to get back. Like if this was, whatever,
itching at
race
dinner.
If this was like, I don't know, Richmond or a race that wasn't necessarily Kansas or Bristol from this year, like if it was any other race, I would have been like, I'll get back to it when I get back to it, whatever. But I was like, this racing has been so good. Like I cannot wait to get back to it. So that's how I knew how good it was. And then sat back down, watched it, was able to get through all the commercials. By that time, Steph had purposely looked and she saw a couple spoilers. She's like, "Oh, I know a couple things you don't know."
Yeah.
I was threatening getting a divorce lawyer if she told me anything. So, but successfully, made it all the way through and loved every single bit of it. And then, turned it off, turned the phone back on, got all the text messages that came in and everything. And then was able to get back on, the social media and see what everyone was saying and everything. And everyone seemed to agree, but yeah, A+ for me, man. I loved everything I saw. And let's get more of that going. We're on really good momentum now. That's 2 races in a row. I don't count the All-Star race. We got the Coke 600 is the next standard race, and I think that is going to deliver as well. So we're in a good little chunk here.
Yeah, the last couple of years, the Coke 600 has been like the best race of the year. So I'm expecting the same. How about you, Eric? What'd you think about Darlington this weekend?
Oh yeah, it gets another A+ for me. I didn't think it was possible after last week, but I think Darlington might have even topped Kansas as far as being the best race of the season. We didn't have the NASCAR's closest finish ever out of this race, but man, it had everything you ever wanted. We're coming out of back-to-back weeks talking about the racing and the battles on the racetrack. We're not talking about tires and what Goodyear's doing. We're not talking about the downforce, none of that other bullshit. We're talking about the battles on the racetrack, the pure speed in some of these cars and drivers, and epic battles.
Yeah.
The drivers that are giving it their all, riding that wall up top, and that bump coming out of 4 is insane. Was it 4 where that bump was?
I think so.
Coming out of, I think it was 4 there. And those drivers had a handful all day long. And to me, when you ever come out of a race and you're just talking about the battles and the racing, it's winning. The sport is winning there. And that race to me all day long, awesome battles all day. Where times where I'm like, when you have to just keep going, get up out of the bar stool. I was like, what's going on? Like just the battles up front, the back and forth, it was, to me, some of the best battles from start to finish, all the way through. Like I said, we love Kansas so much because the battles up front were there. The battles throughout the field were there. And the battles up front weren't just like 1 or 2 laps. There were 20, 25 lap battles where they would swap for 10, go back for 10. This guy would come back for another 10, then he would lead. And to me, to go out of any weekend talking about how good the racing was instead of any other bullshit is good for me, and it had everything. So yes, A+ again for me for Darlington.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I don't know if I give it the plus just because it felt wrong giving back-to-back A+ 2 weeks in a row, but I'll go with you. I'll give it an A+ as well. I thought it was a great race. Maybe not minute-to-minute excitement like Kansas was, but still super edge of your seat type excitement. I thought everything was really good. Everything was really intense all the way up until the end. I think that Larson caution, that made it that extra level, because then all of a sudden all the pressure was on with Brad Keselowski, Tyler Reddick, Chris Buescher all battling it out. What a battle it was. And in the end, Brad Keselowski got the win. And I think if you're a NASCAR fan, even if you didn't like Brad Keselowski back in the day, this is a very popular win. This is a win where it's like, yeah, that guy, he bet on himself. He took a team that probably, was on the downturn, failing for years and years and years. And they brought it back to winning ways. And that storyline alone is just fantastic. And can I just jump into my checkers with that one then? Because I'm giving it to Brad Keselowski, not only for that race, but for everything he's done at RFK. I think it's interesting too that Chris Buescher won a bunch of races last year before Brad did, where it's like, okay, he's not just putting his resources into the 6 car, he's putting it into the whole organization as a whole. He's turned around the whole entire culture over there. And this is the first win, the 6 car in 13 years, I think it said it was.
I think was it David Reagan? I think was the last one.
Crazy, yeah.
At Talladega, I think in the 6 car. I think it was the last time it won.
So just to bring, how legendary? I would put the 6 car just as a legendary number as Rusty Wallace's 2 car, the 3 car with Dale Earnhardt. Mark Martin is constantly touted as one of the greatest drivers that never won a championship. And to get that car back in victory lane, just got to give it to Brad Keselowski, because I think he did such a fantastic job. I think we were all rooting for him at the end there. Even when Reddick was still in the hunt, I was like, man, it'd be nice to see Brad Keselowski win this one.
I was watching it, and the one thing that Steph said that she was like cryptic. She was like, "Oh, it's a nice ending."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, what do you
mean by that?"
She grew up a number 2 fan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I think sometimes she forgets. She doesn't watch like we do. She only knows as much as me bullshitting with her. I think what she saw was Brad 1, and she forgot that Brad's not in the number 2.
Yeah.
And so, because she was a Keselowski fan for much of our relationship until he went to the 6. And so I think that's what happened there. But here I'm thinking oh, she says it's a nice finish. Do we have another
great
photo finish?
Yeah.
And then I saw Josh Berry come in, and she knows I'm a Josh Berry fan. So I'm like, does something happen? These guys are all battling up front. Does something happen where Josh Berry wins it? So I'm getting super excited because I got this.
She added to it. She added to your race experience by giving you that.
Yeah. She thought she was gonna try to ruin it, but she added to. Because I'm like, what does that mean?
What could happen?
Finish?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay. And she was actually surprised that I was rooting for Brad because historically I haven't been the biggest Brad Keselowski fan, but it's one of those deals where I've grown to like him, kind of like the Kyle Busch deal. I've grown to like him over the latter part of their career.
Same. And you want to know what? I think a big portion of that for a lot of people is the move to Roush, resurrecting that team from what it was to where it's at now, and I just have to give credit as an owner driver because, of course, back in the day, there was a lot of owner drivers back in the early years of the sport. But since the 80s and 90s, that's kind of gone away. And if you look at some of those early owner drivers in the 90s, they struggled. Alan Kawicki did it. He won a championship. Everyone else, Darrell Waltrip, who bought a team and raced for his own team, he struggled in his own equipment. I'm trying to think of some of the other guys, but historically, owner driver is not very successful in NASCAR. And like we said, Brad Keselowski's getting up in the years too, where I think he still has some peak years left. But I don't think
you got to root for an underdog though too. I was, 110 races. That was his winless streak. So you're always looking to see those get broken. You never want to see those get extended, especially when it's a champion of the sport and Brad and who he is. And what you nailed it to do what he's doing. I don't think most people understand resurrecting a team and the team that he's resurrecting. It is absolutely incredible what he's done over the last couple of years there at RFK. And like you said, not just one car now, both cars are capable of winning. And I was rooting for him too, because, picked him on the show too.
Oh yeah.
Going back to last. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah. We got another exacto. That's right. That's right. The Bump and Run boys. Going back to last year, fellas, the teams with the most win, you've got JGR, Hendrick, and
Roush. Well, RFK.
Greg Biffle.
What?
Oh yeah, Roush, RFK is third. Going back to last year with the most wins for a team. How crazy is that? Above Penske, above SHR,
and the thing is,
these other.
The thing is, they did it quick. This is only his third season in that car. Chris Buescher, he won a couple races, but before he won those races last year, we were talking about how consistent he was. He was a consistent top 10, top 5 driver. And then he started rattling off wins in the middle of the season. So to have that kind of turnaround, I know the next gen car probably plays a big part in it to level the playing field a little bit, but you can't deny the impact that Brad Keselowski has had.
Yeah, the same thing happened with Brad though over these last 4 or 5 weeks. He was getting top 5s left and right, some top 2s.
Yeah,
and so when you see when those type of cars, when you see that type of consistency, the win is right around the corner. You rarely see a walk-off win from somebody running 20th or whatever at places, because you need consistency before you get wins. So it was kind of, we were saying about Ford, but then we saw Ford getting a little better. Gregson started the whole thing where we saw him running well and performing well. Okay, Ford might have something. So then I started looking into it more, and I'm like, ooh, okay, I think Ford's going to be coming along here. They're running better as a whole organization. Gave them my checkers last week. So, I think look out, because this is when Buescher went on his tear last year, the second half of the season when they started, getting fast and consistent, and you're seeing both those cars up there right now. So, I don't know if it's all of Ford because Penske's still struggling right now, but RFK found something.
I wouldn't write off them Penske off yet either, because I heard on the teardown today that Ford has new engines that they were working on that they didn't even unveil yet. They didn't run them yet. They're running them this weekend, I believe, is the first time. So they might have a whole extra little something in their back pocket too for the rest of the season. So keep your eyes on Ford.
I've got something in my front pocket for you.
And I'm going to leave it at the checkers. I'll let you guys come back, and we'll come back to my wreckers because I think we might get into it a little bit. But since we started with Matt with the race grades, we'll start with Eric for his checkers and wreckers. What's your checkers and wreckers?
Well, I was going to give my checkers to this thing until I kind of, like I said earlier in the show, I kind of formulated my checkers and wreckers around the same topic. So I'll give my almost checkers first, which is Whiskey River, Dale Jr.'s bar in the Charlotte airport.
Yeah.
We made a stop there. We had a 3-hour layover, and it was our first time there. Live band playing. Guy was absolutely fantastic. Food, absolutely fantastic. So had to give a shout out to Dale Jr. and Whiskey River at the Charlotte airport. It was
nice.
one of the highlights of our trip on vacation, honest to God, was going to Whiskey River.
Yep, I've been there a couple times. It's fantastic there.
Wait, but my real
No, I've never been to the Charlotte airport. I always get laid over in like Atlanta. So
nice little airport. I like the Charlotte airport.
Oh, Charlotte's a great airport.
Yeah.
It's in 3 other ones. It's Fort Lauderdale, Charlotte, and there's another one too, somewhere in that down south, somewhere down there. But great. I couldn't have been happier to make that choice to go there and try it out. But my real checkers and wreckers, my checkers goes to Justin Haley. When he made that switch, and we all kind of were like,
"What are you doing? Going to Rick Ware?"
Right? Like, what are you doing, right? Because we talk, about these teams before with Trackhouse and Colleague, and they were on the up and coming. Oh my God, these are going to be the teams. Look at how good they're doing already. And one has stayed near the top, the other hasn't. And now we're seeing that it was the right choice to go to Rick Ware Racing and that Ford camp, because Justin Haley drove that car to a top 10. Wasn't a super speedway. There was no gimmicks, wrecks, any kind of crazy shit that went on, rain delay, nothing. And he's been driving that car inside the top 10, top 15 consistently.
Yeah.
And that does not happen with the Rick Ware Racing car. So I just have the hats off. I know we've mentioned him in the previous weeks for how good of runs he's had. The finishes might not be there.
But you see them. You see him.
You see them. You see that progress. You see why he made that decision. So, give him the checkers for making that decision, because look at what happened. It paid off. He had a top 10 at Darlington in the Southern 500 for Rick Ware Racing. So hats off to him.
And last year they had whatchamacallit, they were originally like associated with Stewart Haas Racing, and then they made the switch. They have a technical alliance with RFK. And that was kind of part of his decision making too. That reminded me though, when you brought up Trackhouse and Colleague, that's another rumor that's swirling, is that Colleague is selling his charters, and he might sell them to Trackhouse, or they might merge too. Yep. So I forgot to mention that. That's another silly season one there for you. But what's your records for the weekend?
To stick with that, of decisions and kind of halfway through the season, what did it benefit them? Was it the right decision, the wrong decision? I give my records to RCR. They are just flat out just bad right now. Kyle Busch still sitting in 13th, which not good for Kyle Busch in my eyes. Ripped off 3 wins last year, but that made me think, okay, this year you either do the same or you get better. They've regressed.
Yeah.
He has speed here and there at certain racetracks, and then they just seem to fall off. And it's not necessarily bad things happening to Kyle Busch either. It just seems like the car steps out from underneath him, which you rarely see Kyle Busch, have a car come out from underneath him and not be able to save it, and him spin on his own type of stuff. And I think you're seeing Kyle Busch having to overdrive these cars because his talent is better than the vehicle that he's given right now. And when he made the switch, I think right now, Reddick has the advantage. He made the right choice. Reddick right now, by far, is sitting at the top and smiling down and being like, ha ha, I'm sitting here at 23-11 with race wins and championship caliber, possibilities. And he's at RCR just wondering when he's going to get speed and finishes. And man, it's a shame. I hate to see it, but Kyle Busch and RCR, that move seems to have been the wrong one for old Kyle.
It was the wrong one for him, but man, what a great move for RCR, because I can't imagine how they'd be struggling without him right now. Like what if there was a Daniel Hemrick in that car again?
Right.
Like what are they doing?
We're talking about them selling both of their charters, and they're just collapsing as a team.
Yeah.
If they have someone like that in there, for sure.
Like right now,
Kyle Busch's name is the only thing saving RCR right now.
Yeah.
That other car, I don't want to talk about it, but it's just basically it's a riding billboard every week. That's all it is. There's no chance it's ever going to win.
That's the thing. It's not even a good billboard because you never see him. He's 31st. He's 31st in points in the 3 car. I don't know what sponsor he's running. He could be driving the Bass Pro Shop car. I don't know.
That right there in and of itself is a disgrace.
It's a disgrace.
It's a disgrace for that to be that far down.
I probably bring that car up every week at some point in a negative light because it's like, it's such a heartbreaking thing to see. And like, he doesn't give a shit, man. Like you can't convince me otherwise.
Like at this point, you either sell one of your charters, put Kyle in the 3, you get rid of the 8 car in general, and you put everything you have as RCR into that 3 car, and you do everything. You go balls to the walls to get that championship for Kyle Busch in the 3 car. Yeah. You go down to a 1 car team, and you flood that with resources.
I tell you what,
you get him a teammate that's capable of giving him some data points or some actual help out on the racetrack.
For real.
One or the other at this point.
At this point, I'd rather see fucking Ty Dillon in the car than Austin Dillon.
I was going to say.
At least they'll give him some edge, you know what I mean? At least they'll rub some feathers out there.
Back to that number 3.
I was going to say, I have to backtrack the disrespect to Daniel Hemrick because he's ahead of Austin Dillon in the points. So 31 car doing all right. How about you, Matt? What's your checkers and wreckers for the weekend?
So my checkers and wreckers, couple off track things that. So my checkers goes to Mike Joy. So when Larson spun out in the throwback to the Kellogg's car, Mike Joy, with this typical grandpa humor, he goes, "Oh, that'll frost your cornflakes."
Good line though in the moment.
That's a great line.
Great like dad line there. He said it and like I don't know, in like typical dry Mike Joy fashion. I just thought it was so funny that he said that.
And I'll tell you what, I know we shit on Fox in the beginning of the show and the booth how to do shit. The call I thought was good at the end. Yeah, I thought the excitement was there. I thought like normally it's very, and here he comes. He's going to make the pass. And there was enthusiasm. Was there. You could hear the enthusiasm that Junior used to bring where, oh, God, like when he's into it. I need that as a race fan in my call. You hear all these other things you hear. They'll post, listen to the way this guy called it. Listen to the way this guy called it. Oh, NASCAR Racing Espanol. Listen how they called it. They all sound better than our actual broadcast sounds.
Yeah.
Not this past week. I had to give it to them. They sounded great.
You know why we need it? Because I'm in the same boat, Eric, as you. It's because we see what's happening on the screen and we're getting excited.
We're doing it, yeah.
And when you hear the broadcast team doing it, don't even make it just NASCAR. Any sport you're watching, when you hear Mike Breen in the NBA yell bang every time someone hits a big 3-point shot, it's because they're sharing the excitement. It gives you permission to get excited.
Yeah, you're right.
It allows you to feel okay about getting excited because it's a big moment, and so we need that as fans.
No, I think you make a great point. That does go a long way. Just like it's like the laugh track in a television show. It's like, oh yeah, this is exciting. It adds to it all. How about your wreckers though? What's your wreckers?
My records goes to the fact that we're racing on Mother's Day. I know in the news you said that we're not racing on Easter next year. I actually never had a problem with it because it was at 7:00 at night. A lot of people still have off Monday anyway after Easter. I personally took it off. My wife's a teacher; she has it off. So it was a day. It was a day where I can celebrate family, do the whole family thing during the day. Race doesn't start until 7:30, 8 o'clock. And then you get to settle in for a nice night race. Where Mother's Day, you got stuff going on. Dude, I've got, I got my wife, I got my mom, I got my stepmom, got a mother-in-law. We got things going on. We got running around to do. There's shit going on Mother's Day. That day used to be taken off every single year for NASCAR. They let money get in the way of that because the Fox said, no, you're going to race on Mother's Day. We don't care. And it's just like, I had to shut my phone off. I had to go incognito for a couple hours of my life. And it's just like, what are we doing, man? So just the fact that we're racing on Mother's Day, like give that day fully back to the mothers. They do a lot for us and they deserve it. So give it back.
Just give us that Saturday night Kansas race back. That's what used to lead in. That's what used to lead into the Mother's Day, right? Yeah, we had Saturday night Kansas. Bring it back. I agree. Whatchamacallit? My records, initial records right after the race, as soon as it happened. Tyler Reddick, just a poorly timed move that killed two great cars and handed off a win. Now that's my records as a broadcaster. As a fan, though, the more I thought about it, the less I cared, to be honest with you. The more I looked at where it's like, yeah, you want to know what? It was poorly timed. He got a bad finish. But I listened to an interview with him where he's like, I've waited and the opportunity never came. And I saw a little bit and he fucked up, but I don't think it was that egregious. I don't think it was that bad. Maybe Matt's mad at me. We got into it in text message.
I'm not mad. No, dude. No. Okay. So to go back to Eric's point earlier, like me and you were, I call it friendly arguing.
Yeah.
When we're arguing about something that went down on the track. That's a good thing.
Oh yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? That's a healthy thing. That's what sports is all about. Instead of talking about, some mundane, stupid air block, whatever nonsense.
Yeah.
We're talking about an incident that went down on the track. So first and foremost, I'm happy that we get to do that because that's what sports is.
That was hard racing. We saw real hard racing leading to a wreck and some hurt feelings,
Yeah, we saw over-aggression. We saw an opportunity that wasn't there yet that would have been there if there was patience involved. And listen, Whitey, I'm not coming at you. I swear to God, I'm not. I swear to God, I promise you I'm not. I like Tyler Reddick.
I know.
He's an easy to root for kind of guy. As a matter of fact, if you don't like Tyler Reddick, I don't like you because he's an easy to root for kind of guy. He's relatable. He's funny. The whole mustache reveal thing.
Great personality online too, yeah.
He's a funny dude. This isn't an attack on Tyler Reddick, the person. It's kind of, and it's not even, it's just like, I want to see him do well. So like the over aggression that he's had over he's his fifth or sixth year in the Cup Series at this point. Like it's enough time for him to correct these things. And like, I like aggression in a driver, but he fucks himself. And now
does fuck himself.
Another driver. He took what, I'm not saying Buescher was going to win that race. I actually think Reddick was going to win that race if Reddick just let it play out. Reddick, is probably a more talented driver than Chris Buescher is right now. I don't think that's really up for debate. I think Buescher was already starting to bounce off the wall. He was already starting to let the pressure get to him. I think if Reddick was just more patient, he would have seen a win in his future. But instead, he was over aggressive. He overdrove. He took an opportunity that, in my mind, wasn't there yet.
Yeah,
and he messed up. It wasn't intentional. He's not a bad guy. There was no malice in what he did. But he ruined his day and Buescher's day. And I want to see him do better. And I want to see him learn from these mistakes. And I don't really have evidence that he's learned from them yet. And that's all I was trying to say.
So the reason why I gave him the records, and I do stand by it, because I agree with everything he said. The timing was poor. It didn't work out for him. He knew instantly it wasn't going to work out for him. You could see him back out of the gas and stuff, and he gets loose and everything. But the more I thought about, because I was pissed on Sunday. Not only was I pissed for Tyler Reddick, I was pissed for Chris Buescher too, where it's like, man, that was a fucking boneheaded thing, And
here's the crux of it too, honestly, is I had both on my fantasy team.
Oh yeah. Well, I had Buescher in my fantasy team, so it fucked me over. It did.
I had both of them and Brad on my fantasy team. And I was like, this is like, obviously I couldn't check it because I wasn't watching it live, but
But
Yeah.
but as the week went on, well, the last couple of days, and I'm listening to other people's feedback on podcasts and interviews with him too, because after the race, me and Bree went for a walk with the dog and everything, and at the end of the walk, it was like an hour later, I go, you know what the fucking problem with Tyler Reddick is? He's just too impatient,
That's all it is, man.
That's what it is. But as I listened to an interview with him on Monday, and he mentioned it where he's like, I've been in these situations before where I waited and then the opportunity disappeared.
Well, that's the answer, though. Sometimes the opportunity is not going to appear.
That's
and
true.
you finish second instead of 32nd.
I think too, though, the Chris Buescher emotion also adds to the fuel of it, where it's like, oh, what a fucking dumb thing to do, and then Buescher's like running over, talking about stickers and everything. It's like, he's not thinking about you not having a win. He's thinking about winning the race.
About that.
And
the stickers thing, that's Buescher's that's you crying. That's you crying. It ain't my problem. You don't have a fucking sticker.
No,
that's the way I look at that.
That's not Reddick's problem to worry about. I'll totally agree with you guys on that point. But it's also like, if I was Chris Buescher, and you have to, because context matters.
Yeah.
You have to incorporate what happened last week at Kansas.
Exactly.
Into it, or it's two heartbreaks back to back, different types of heartbreaks, but heartbreaks nonetheless, where a win was within grasp. And I just think, like, you're getting out of the car, you look back, and Reddick's 2 cars behind me. I'm going to go address this right now. I'd be red too. So you can't. At least I don't fault Buescher for doing whatever.
So now I read the text group that we are in, and I didn't respond. As you know, I was just going to give my opinion while we were on here after everything. And I agree with both of you in certain aspects where, yes, Reddick was definitely impatient with his move, but I also don't want him to not do that again.
Yeah.
Because if this next gen car, you have to do that or else you're never going to win another race. Like it's one of those things. It's a catch-22 where it's double-edged sword with this car. You kind of have to be dirty. You saw the talks afterward. Does Buescher need to start racing differently? Is he too nice? Now, I don't think that at all, but you also look at it like this, Whitey. You have to learn, like Matt said, you could have came home second, or you could have had another. Where did this, before Kansas last week, where was the closest finish ever?
Darlington.
It could have happened again.
It could have.
If he let it play. You know what I mean? Like, you always want to see them race to the end. I want to see that move in the last turn of the last lap.
Lay it all out there.
That's where I want to see that move happen.
That's the part where I disagreed with, where Whitey, where you said that, well, there's 10 laps to go. You got to go. See, I disagree with that, and that's definitely up for debate. I'm not saying I'm right.
I put that on Brad. This is where I put that on Brad Keselowski, because Brad Keselowski, the way he raced
real
Reddick,
hard.
He already put it in Reddick's mind with 30 laps to go. There was still 30 to go when Brad was dooring the shit out of him on that one restart. So if I'm in Reddick's shoes after the fact, and I'm getting doored by Brad with 30 to go, because guess what? They know how important clean air and getting that out in front is. You're going to sail away. So if they're that restart, if I'm Reddick and I'm getting doored with 30 to go, if there's 10 to go, and I'm seeing both of those cars, the guy that was dooring me won, his teammate next to me, I'm in a hornet's nest right now of people that are already around me. They're fast. Hey, fuck it. He's dooring me. I'm going to try to make this move right here, right now, because this is my opportunity. I don't necessarily agree with Whitey when he said, like Buescher already hit the wall. I
don't think that really mattered.
That doesn't matter, because you hit the wall and you keep going. It's that momentum on the high side. Even though you hit the wall, you still have momentum on exit to stay ahead there. So I don't necessarily think that mattered much, but I do think it was the context, the mentality, what happened on lap 30 restart. Going into it where, hey, like you said, I'm going in, I'm getting doored, I'm in this hornet's nest, and I'm going for it, but he could have came home with another top 5 finish, possibly top 2. And this is exactly what Kyle Busch used to do. Overdrive your car, realize these now.
Put yourself in a bad situation.
I don't want to put it out into the universe. I really don't. But it's going to come down to this race.
Accuse me of farting.
It's going to come down to this race where he's going to be short on some kind of points by 1 or 2. And you're going to look back and be like, I wasn't in it, if you know what I mean? Like it's going to be one of those things where it's like, if he just doesn't do that, you don't have to worry about that later on.
So can I backtrack? Because for the podcast, like, yes, this is the records. This was the worst thing in the race I could think of. It was Tyler Reddick pulling that move. It was fucking stupid. It didn't work out. In hindsight, we know this all. And that's why I kept it as my records. But as I was thinking of it, I'm like, yeah, Chris Buescher doesn't have a win, but like, why shouldn't Tyler Reddick race real hard? Because guess what that win gets him? 5 playoff points. You know, like, yeah, he's already locked into the playoffs, but we're running for a championship now. You know, every point matters.
You, like I said, he should do that. I don't want him to not do that move.
Yeah,
because we know how important that is, and we know how hard it is to win without it's. I feel like we're going to get into these conversations no matter what, because this is how you have to win a race with this car.
Exactly,
it's this car that's causing this, which is good. This is great entertainment value for the podcast. But I mean, you look at when the cars are so similar in speed and so tight like that, it's going to take a little rubbing his racing to kind of, and that's get a win here and there.
My only pushback with that, and I don't necessarily disagree with what you guys are saying. My only pushback with that is like, now here's the question of, and again, there's no right or wrong answer, but here's the question of, does Buescher owe him one? If
I
Buescher
think he does.
Yeah. When's that going to happen? So now Reddick's got that in the back of his mind.
I think he does.
That, hey, he's got one owed to him. When is it going to come up? You know, is it going to come up in the playoffs when Buescher's knocked out of it, or what? You know, so it's like you got to be careful. So, if you're willing to do that move, you've got to be willing to have that move done to you.
And this is where I agree. Where like what you said, Matt, it's like, does he owe him one? I think he definitely owes him one. I think for sure it's going to be a high stakes time when he decides to maybe like give it back to him. But you know, you look at what happened with Reddick and Slick Willie 2 Clocks in the playoffs. Same thing when he took William Byron out, and it's like that was one of those things where he didn't have to do that. You didn't. You just caused yourself that was
more
just something. It was one
in
of those
the long run.
Exactly.
No, and you want to? I totally agree with.
We didn't even talk about that. The Blaney Byron situation too.
Oh yeah, well we're getting to it. But I did want to go back where Matt. I agree with you. I agree with all of the things you say. It's just it's easier to say that stuff in hindsight too, where it's like, oh, if you let it go, you can have that photo finish. Maybe, but you could also have him run off and beat you by 4 seconds and know like that was my last chance. That's what the leader did on
Sunday too. The leader got out to about a 2-3 second lead when he got out front. So I mean, it's a clean air with this car. This car is creating good racing up front because the cars are so similar in speed. And you know, it just I think it's going to come to the point where you're going to have to make moves like this to win some races. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens down the road between the two. But guess what? We have a battle now.
Oh yeah,
we have a hometown guy on our podcast that's in a scrum with the driver. So guess what? That means this is good. I love this. I think this is good for the sport. I think you need a little shoving and a little pushback. But you know where I think it's kind of smoothed it over for me is the fact that Reddick owned up to it. He knew called that. He knew immediately that he did it. I'm almost certain he was in the radio
too. He looked very like upset that he did it.
But like he
admits
it, and I respect any driver that goes out and says, "Hey, yeah, I did it. I went for it. The move didn't stick," and he said it right in the heat of the moment too. And you know that's where I will always give credit when credit is due when a driver does own up and says that. And you know it was an opportunity and he screwed up. And you could tell. You see the flames. He tried to lift. He knew it wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not sitting here burying the guy, because like I said when we started talking about this, he's a likable guy. I truly like him. I root for him. I root for him, one, hard stop, but I also root for him a little bit more because, dude, he's like one of our buddies drive, like, you know what I mean? So it's like
in a way we're harping on him because we want him to be better so this doesn't happen again. Yes.
Oh yeah.
On the other hand,
but Matt, you're right though.
I'm gonna be a little hypocritical here. Let's fucking see it again. Let's see it. Let's see a rivalry.
I want to see a rivalry.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think this is nothing but good shit. This is, like you said,
a rivalry, like a rivalry, like a true.
I don't think it'll happen though with those two. Because they they'll sort this out. They'll work it out.
Yeah.
They've raced each other clean. Like Buescher said, like, I've raced you nothing but respect. And like, that is where it'll end, I think. You know what I mean? Between those two, if Buescher's dump on Reddick is super egregious, like the payback, that might spark something. That it depends on that. But Matt, I agree. I'm all here for some action in the summer. You know, let's get a summer plan.
Blaney and Byron could be a real rivalry because like they've got like beef off the track too. So
and that's just speculation though. We'll touch on that. We'll touch on that at the end. Oh, is it? I know.
Yeah, there was a comment on DBC today that all but pretty much said like, okay. Yeah.
So I just want, before we get off on this, I just want to make 2 points. I know in our conversation off the air, I think what a lot of it was what constitutes as a racing deal. I'm chalking this one up to a racing deal. It wasn't malicious. You're not. But I will completely agree with you that Reddick does this shit a lot, and he doesn't learn from it either, where he just puts himself in bad situations. We saw him do it at Daytona, wreck half the field, trying to do the same slide job move on Kyle Busch too. Right. And like you said too, it's like he has the same potential as Kyle Larson, but he's getting him in his own way, like Kyle Larson used to do too. You know, so I think it is a little growing pains. Still young too, though. You know,
just
it's gonna be. This is going to be nothing but good for him.
Yeah. But I had to give him the records just because of it. But at the same time, the more I thought as a fan, I'm like, yeah, I don't think he did anything wrong. In fact, I'm glad he went out and he was pushing it real aggressive and trying to win. That's what I want to see. That's why I like him in the first place. I liked him in the Xfinity series because he raced really fucking aggressive, you know, or he's like, oh, this guy's like Dale Earnhardt kind of, you know? So I like that. I just... To Eric's point, you gotta finish races because you know you miss the cutoff line by 2 points. It is.
Trust me, certain races you look back on when you don't think it's a big deal, and then you don't want to have to go back to be like, oh, where do we finish here? What was the reason I didn't get that 3 points to advance?
If he doesn't make the final 4, you're gonna go back and look at, oh, he could have finished second and gotten 9 bonus points. Where are those 9 bonus points missing? Oh yeah, I fucking wrecked Buescher and myself.
Whatchamacallit, and one last thing too, any Chris Buescher fans listening, any RFK fans listening, hate him all you want. I completely get it because you want to know what? Chase Briscoe wrecked him at was it Bristol Dirt years and years ago? I know that one's a racing deal too. I still fucking hate Chase Briscoe. So if you're hating on Reddick, I completely get it. But to go over the race, I think we covered pretty much everybody that was running really well, except for Kyle Larson. Of course, he spun. He had some damage that caused that.
That'll frost your flakes.
That'll frost your flakes. Ty Gibbs had a really good run too. He led once for 34 laps, but he just raced that track really well. Got himself a second place finish. We mentioned Josh Berry. He came in third. Fantastic run for the rookie run we've been looking for. Denny Hamlin finished fourth. He only led once for a lap during a green flag cycle. Chase Briscoe in fifth. William Byron in sixth. Bubba Wallace in seventh. Alex Bowman in eighth. And Justin Haley, we mentioned, getting himself a ninth place finish. Michael McDowell rounding out the top 10. Other than that, your only leaders on the day all finished in the back: Chris Buescher, Tyler Reddick, and Kyle Larson due to wrecks. And here on the Bumper Run podcast, everyone loves to talk about the winner one, Brad Keselowski, in a Monday. And for once, we actually did talk about Brad Keselowski and his win. But here we talk about the loser too, and that was one. Ryan Blaney got himself taken 3 wide and ended up stacked in the fence. Couldn't clear the damaged vehicle policy. His former quote unquote brother-in-law was the one that pushed him 3 wide. One William Byron. If you're not up to date on the off-track romances, apparently William Byron and Ryan Blaney's sister broke up in the off season. Some might say it was because Ryan Blaney won the championship and William Byron didn't. I'm just speculating on that one. Matt, you said they kind of confirmed it on DBC. What did they say though?
What they said, it was, so they had an up and comer on there, Butterbean
McQueen. Yeah, he's
yeah. And what did he say? It was like a passing line where if if you hadn't told me earlier in the week that Byron and Blaney's sister broke up, I wouldn't have thought about it. He said something like, "Oh yeah, well they have off track stuff going on," or something like that. Like it was very vague, but like if you know that they broke up, you would be able to connect the dots. But if you didn't, you'd be like, "Oh, I wonder what that was all about." Mm-hmm. But yeah, since you told me that they broke up, I'm like, okay. And then Blaney, I'll tell you what, I like Blaney.
Yeah.
I do. I really like Blaney, but he's got to figure it out. Right. It's been a while since we've thrown that out there. Blaney, figure it out.
No, get it together.
Get it together. We need to get it together. It's been so long.
He needs to get it together because he's just such a hothead, and it's like we've dealt with hotheads in our past. And
his in-car is amazing.
Yeah.
It's so off-putting. It's like the whole hothead thing is just such an off-putting thing where, like, I get being competitive.
He's just melting down in the car all the time.
It's like all the time. And then he almost uses his car as a projectile to ram Blaney on a caution lap where it's like, dude, he even said like, yeah, I almost lost control of the car there. That probably would have been bad. Like, yeah, you would have been suspended, you dummy. Like,
well, they said it last year, the spotter. He's like, the 12's going to lose it. The 12's losing it.
Yeah, he's melting down. Yeah.
He's melting down. The 12's melting down. Like, it's not something that is not unknown. It's not a hidden thing that Blaney does melt down behind, the wheel of his race car. And, with whatever's going on. And I think it's always due to when you're not running well.
Yeah.
That's when it happens.
And Penske's been struggling, He's still in the top 10 in points, though. That's the thing. He's still running okay, but he's not having the upfront runs that he needs.
But to be honest with you, you know what I mean?
It's a hangover.
Yeah.
Like Slick Willie 2 Clocks is there, and he's like, okay, yeah. Ryan Blaney, you won a championship. Okay, I fucked your sister, buddy. You know what I mean? Like, I hope he said that. You know what I mean? Like, if it gets all like wild, dude, it's gotta.
There is no greater fucking retort than I fucked your sister when you actually did.
Right.
Like, you can't. Exactly. There's nothing you can reply to that.
There's a fist in the face that you can reply with.
I've seen it happen once to a former friend and a current friend, and over his little sister, and I still think about that to this day because it's amazing. But I'm not gonna bring up someone else's dirty laundry on this podcast. But yeah, I'm sure. I think they've had a couple.
I'm sure it's pretty easy. If she's not standing him next to the national anthem, they're not together.
Yeah, no, that's true.
They all stand next to their car for the national anthem. Go back to a race last week. Look, are they standing there or are they not?
Yeah.
That's probably what was a dead giveaway for most in the public opinion.
Yeah, but who knows? I think this isn't the first run-in they had on track this season, too. I just don't think people were paying attention as much as they are now, But, yeah, Ryan Blaney, just a fucking psychopath in the car. And then completely different off track. Like, when he got interviewed after getting taken out, he's like, yeah, it's just one of those deals. He reminds me of Dennis
from It's Always Sunny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But boys, we gotta wrap it up. We're running out of time here, and we're heading to North Wilkesboro for the All-Star race. But first, trucks are on track Saturday, 1:30 on FS1, and it is a points race. It's the Right Brand 250, and then Friday there's some Cup qualifying and the Pit Crew Challenge. I don't know what time they all start. It was very confusing, the schedule, and the little graphic NASCAR put out didn't have any times on it. But then Sunday, 5:30, we have the open races, and then 8 p.m. for the All-Star main event.
My wreckers. That was going to be my wreckers, where they were talking about the All-Star. Fox is talking about the All-Star race coming back from a break or whatever, and they're only showing the 8 o'clock start time. Like, yo,
I hate that
want
shit.
To advertise the heat races.
We say it every year, man. Every year we bitch about it. Yeah, it's like, come on, like you're doing a disservice to the whole entire sport. The whole purpose of this and the best of that weekend
is the open race.
Is all the heats of the openings. That's where the action is.
I think it's so dumb that they promote it like that too. Like you set aside a 3-hour block for the open and like the pre-show, and then you don't promote it at all. But they'll promote NASCAR race day starting at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You know. Anyways, to go over our picks from last week, and I think for the All-Star race, we'll just pick the winner, and if we get it right, 5 points, right? I think that's what we do every year.
5 bonus points. I forget what we do.
Yeah, so to go over our picks for last week, Eric was the big winner. He told you to pick Brad Keselowski. He won, and he got you 57 points. In the meantime, Eric, that's your 3rd correct pick of the season so far, our 5th as a podcast. If you're not betting with the Bumper Run podcast, you're missing out on some money. Matt, you picked William Byron. We just talked about him. He got himself a top 10, but he only got you 38 points, missed out on some stage points. And then I picked Martin Truex Jr. He was involved in that stack up with Blaney, but he was able to salvage his day. Only got me 18 points. So I picked for the All-Star race first. Matt, you picked second. And Eric, you picked third. Oh, man. All-Star race. I want to go with Kyle Larson because he won last year, but he's also traveling due to IndyCar and all that. So short track guy. I'm going to go on a limb, and I'm going to say a rookie wins his way into the from the open in. I'm going to give it to Josh Berry. Why not? It's an extra 5 points, nothing on the line.
I like it. I like it.
I like it as well. Am I up?
Yeah, you're up.
I'm going to go with a guy where it actually makes a lot of sense. Do you know what the term all-star loosely translates to in Spanish?
All-star.
All-star. All-star loosely translates in Spanish to, now you could check me on this, but I'm like 95% sure I'm right. It loosely translates to Martin Truex Jr.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
So listen, it's the All-Star race. I'm going to take my guy. I'm taking Marty.
I like it. Oh, should we all just pick our guys? No. Eric, who are you picking?
Well, last week I had on my Brad Keselowski shirt, and I knew I was going to pick him for Darlington. This week, I have my old school Matt Kenseth shirt on, but he's in that DeWalt car, and I am going to go with the 20 of Christopher Bell.
All right. We'll see if C-Bell gets it done. Hey, I don't know about you guys, but I was so confused watching that Yahoo car and Denny Hamlin driving it. I thought it was C-Bell the whole entire day because of it.
I just think C-Bell's had a stretch of shit races.
He needs a little bounce back.
He needs to get it together. I think he kind of finds it here. It's not going to count, but a win is a win, and a win creates momentum. I'm hoping for C-Bell to get a stretch here in the summertime. So, I'm hoping for that 20 car.
And you know what? The last couple of years, since I've been watching, a lot of times the All-Star race winner is a guy who's been struggling. Think about Kyle Larson winning the million in like 2019. Thinking about Ryan.
I also wanted to go with the 1 car for some reason. Gut.
Ross Chastain, could be a good pick too. I'm thinking about Ryan Blaney at
Building
Texas.
Momentum. Anyone with momentum. He won the Truck Series race, even though, he ruined watermelon for me. I wish he was a cantaloupe farmer or something, you know what I mean? But I just think momentum, even in the trucks, wherever you're at, if you're winning and up front, it's bound to happen. So I think Chastain is someone, if you want to put some money on, I think he's gonna have a good race as well.
Wasn't it him who got launched? Remember he ran over Kyle Busch, or Kyle Busch ran over him in the All-Star race last year or 2 years ago, and he got launched. Remember that?
Oh yeah, Texas, when it was at Texas.
Chase Elliott in the
was that during the All-Star race, or was that just a Texas race?
I think that was the All-Star.
Remember. Yeah, he definitely was airborne. I remember that for sure. We'll see. Right now we're 13 races into the 2024 season. We have 8 different winners: William Byron, Daniel Suarez, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, and Brad Keselowski, all locked into the playoffs so far. And we'll see who wins $1 million this Sunday, starting at 5:30 with those open races on Fox for the All-Star race. For Matt the Statman Riley, for Eric Daytona Ron, I'm Michael D. White saying have a good night.
The Bump and Run